The secret to a perfect steak is not just the meat. You need the right technique and the right tools. And it all comes down to one concept: heat retention. In this video, I'll explain why it matters, why light pans don't cut it, and why cast iron has always been considered the gold standard. But can my own YAHGAN carbon steel pan be a real contender? In this video, I'll walk you through the way we cook steaks in Argentina, and I'll give you a few tips that may just blow your mind away. Let's get cooking! Hey, I'm Papa Mao. I'm here to encourage and help people transition away from non-stick cookware as a way to care for their loved ones and for the environment. In this channel, I show how easy it is to cook with carbon steel and cast iron cookware. I share my experience as an everyday dad cook and as a weekend outdoor warrior. Welcome! In cooking terms, heat retention is just the pan's ability to capture heat and stay hot once you add the food. This is critical for pan-seared foods like steak, chicken or fish. And it's why cast iron has long been the gold standard. Heavy pans hold heat like nothing else. Now let's put the theory to test and cook some proper steaks. I'm using Scotch fillet here, about 375 grams each. Okay, let's go with the light pan. I'll try to the best of my ability to cook a great steak using this non-stick pan. I start with high heat to achieve a good searing, and that yellow bit is a trim of fat. More on that later. After a few minutes, liquid starts pooling in the base of the pan, and that's really bad news. The number one killer of a good steak. Normally, once a steak is seared, I would turn the heat down, but here that would only make the pool of liquid worse. So I spend the next 10 minutes riding the knob up and down, trying to keep the pan dry without burning the meat. Finally, I flip it before it scorches, and yeah, it's already a little bit too brown for my liking. Flipping the steak only makes the pooling worse. After several minutes, it looks pale and completely boiled, and I'm honestly trying my best here. After 20 stressful minutes with the pan, I finally call it done. Crazy that it took so long. Let's see how it looks inside. It doesn't look too bad. Maybe a tad overcooked for my liking, but definitely not bad. It looks amazing, like for a light pan, it looks really good, but it tastes bloody, it tastes boiled. Like, I wish you could be here and try it. Bobby, what do you think?
Good, but it tastes a little bit weird.
Yeah? Okay. Let's cook a proper steak now. This is how I've cooked steaks for over 30 years, the way my family taught me in the countryside of Argentina, gaucho style. Start with good fat. The center fat of a Scotch fillet is worth its weight in gold. Pro tip, the ram cap, also called picanha in Brazil, has the same fat. I cut some off, freeze it, and I use it to boost leaner cuts like fillet. This is a complete game changer, guys. Try it. Pan on full heat. Once the fat smokes, the steak goes in. Some people insist on room temperature meat. I'm not picky. Cold steaks will just take longer inside. Okay, it's fine. What I'm picky about is the salt. Always salt before cooking. Early on is best, but even just right before, it works. Salt helps build that crust that flavors the whole steak. I don't use timers or thermometers. I cook by sight. But for reference, about 3 minutes high heat until you're happy with the crust. Then I drop to the lowest possible heat without juices pooling. This is critical. If you ever see a little bit of juices pooling in there, you need to crank up the heat. I usually flip once when I see droplets of blood appear on top. For thick cuts, that's about right. For thinner cuts, it may be a bit too late. You need to experiment and find your sweet spot. Here I went 3 minutes on high, 4 minutes low, then I cranked up the heat back again for a minute before flipping the steak. The second side usually I find that takes about half the time of the first side. When you see little spots of blood falling on top of your steak, I call it done. And if you're starting, don't be intimidated by the steak police. There is really no right or wrong way to cook a steak. There are guidelines to help you find what you like. The cooking point you love is totally your personal preference. For me, I like the medium rare, and that goes also for your style of cooking. Say for me, for example, you will never see me basting a steak with butter or adding garlic or rosemary. I just love the flavor of good quality meat and salt. That's the essence of the Argentinian style of cooking. You need to do what you like. Next level. No, totally different. Juicy, tender, but totally different texture, totally different flavor. Alright, time to put this pan to real test. 2 steaks at once, that's 700 grams of meat, and the goal is no juices pooling underneath. See that liquid? That's pure fat, no water anywhere. At around 7 minutes, I see juices rising to the top, and that's my signal to flip it. Look at the sear, absolutely spectacular. This is passing the test with flying colors. 6 minutes on the other side, and I call it done. We just cooked 700 grams of meat in one go. I would normally do 1 steak at a time. We took 14 minutes to do this. With the Teflon pan, we took more than 20 minutes. We had to tweak the temperature many times, and we cooked only half of the meat we cooked with this guy. That's heat retention in practical terms. I heat the pans very hot at the beginning. I put a little bit of that fat that I mentioned before, just to cover the surface, as much or as little as you want, okay? I find that that fat gives a totally different character and helps with browning the meat beautifully. It's just, you know, never use oil, never use something else. When I make a steak, I make them with Scotch fillet, and I use their fat to cook it, or I use the fat from a picanha. And this is the reason why I never order steaks in a restaurant, because I'm so used to the way I like them that really there's no restaurant who makes the steaks how I like them. So look, the steaks are very personal. I'm not suggesting you should make steaks as I make them, but maybe you want to experiment for a couple of things. Experiment with the fat, experiment with salting the steak before. I don't wait for the steaks. I find the steaks get cold very quickly. My steaks are super juicy, super hot when I put them in the plate, straight out of the pan, and I just don't wait. But again, you see my channel, you probably know that I do things quite differently to most people. Now to wash this pan, really easy. Put some hot water. Leave it there for whatever, half an hour. And then it goes to brand new in a second. Super easy. Oh, this meat is unreal. I wish I could share it with you guys like I'm on my own. I can't eat all this meat. I see you in the next one. Oh my God, this wine. Guys, this wine. This is the wine.